Hi, everyone. Good evening or good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. Welcome to Radio Works World. I'm the emotional evolution host. I'm here with Marina Nani, the beautiful founder of this amazing network. And how are you today, Marina? I know you're there somewhere.
I'm very excited to be here with you, and I know our listeners are in for a treat. So, what are you sharing today?
Yeah, well, like I said to you, today's topic to me has been a challenge too, because sometimes when you work, or you're not only sometimes where you are when you're working with all these topics, you always come to points where you actually have to confront yourself as well. And I wrote to you early in the process. I said I'm actually a little scared to to bring this on, and I realized I'm not. I thought I was, because when I started to work on the topic tonight that I've chosen to call, is happiness a choice? Or can we say that happiness is not a choice, but, positivity is? And how that actually can make a difference in how your emotional chain or emotional state takes place. And to me, we are all have different words of different meaning and value, and we all have with us, different baggage from the past and different experiences that we carry inside. And thousands of different people you can experience exact the same situations in thousands of different ways, which has to do with our individual programming. And this is both a strength, and a weakness, because the weakness is in that, we rarely take full responsibility for our own experience and to see it for what it really is, something that is created within us. And sometimes, or in that, can I say, in that state, or in that kind of experience we make for ourselves, we tend to blame our negative emotional experiences on our circumstances. And some of the feelings are often, you know, um, I will say, has some guilt or shame in it that we don't really want to know. We don't want to feel them. And at the same time, we give our circumstances the blame for our own experiences. And with that, we also give away the power and the ability to actually change them. We make ourselves victims. And I think that the strength in the emotional consciousness or awareness, that we actually create those inside of us, that every feeling we feel or emotion we feel is a reflection of the value or the interpretation that we have given that exact situation, actually is necessary for us to together make that change that we want to see ourselves and in the world, and to open up, to feel that self-love, and to feel unconditional love and not be as judgmental. And that also led me into the story that I want to share with you today. It was a personal story, and you knew a little about it, Marina. And remember what you said to me.
Um, yes, of course. So I just tried to figure out. You said something which triggered something with me. You said
Okay.
you mentioned two words: shame and guilt,
Yeah.
and each time those words appear, we tend to see a big flag. And I just wonder, I mean, for me,
Hmm.
shame is a good experience
That's great to hear.
because basically what's happening, you collect all the data from a certain experience and you mix it with your social conditioning,
Yeah.
and you add into that cocktail some emotional risk,
Hmm.
and that is the measurement of your courage.
Exactly.
Facing those experiences where you felt overwhelmed and you felt that there is no other choice, for me, it's first step into spiritual awareness.
Yeah, that's true.
And you break down into a different path. But actually that path is clearing everything you experienced before.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you make a mistake and then you are thinking, oh my God, I made a mistake. It's already in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the emotional risk to look into it and try to identify what is the cause. The first reaction is to look into the cause.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know is that you realize, in fact, you were the victim. But what's happening next, and that's why I love this path, where you come down from shame and guilt, and you travel on that path, is you realize that actually you could stop being the victim. If you don't really want to that experience to repeat and history to repeat itself, you
Mm-hmm.
simply have to turn the table and make decisions. Because unless you make them, other people will make them for you, and definitely they are not the best for your own interest. So what's happening? I don't know if you could follow this, but you
Yes,
mentioned
I
those
do
two
follow it.
words, and I
Yeah.
just had this
People do
whole
not know the story yet, right? I'm going to tell the story. It's going to be a
yes.
little
So
clearer
so
for
so so
people
then
that.
so no, but the outcome. Well, the great thing about shame and guilt and an experience where you felt crushed and you could not see another exit,
Mm-hmm.
and you felt that you had no chance, you had to do that. You had to um, to feel like a victim.
Mm-hmm.
But the outcome of all this is the fact that you decide enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
I can't have this again. And therefore you become the cause of your own experiences. You are not allowing anyone else to create those experiences for you, because you can't take another one. You
Exactly.
could have other lessons, you could have other experiences, but not the same one. So I think this is part of your becoming aware of your own power,
Mm-hmm.
to turn yourself from the victim of a set of circumstances which seems to be crashing you down, into creating your own life, into becoming the creator of your own life, of your own experiences.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know, at the time this happened, and as I said, I worked with the content for the show tonight, and I did not expect this story, that is this story of the past, to come along. I haven't thought about it for 15 years, and when it came to me again, I felt immediate grief. I went straight back. But you know, thing has changed, and as you say, I'm not that victim anymore. So now I look at it differently, even though I felt as a victim at the time, and I had to take responsibility for the situation. And I just found myself in a situation, you know, in a pregnant situation, as I told you. And I was in a situation at the time where yes, I found that I was pregnant, and I found that the prevention hadn't worked, which crushed me completely, because I'd been that good girl, so to speak. I'd been doing everything right, and I was together with a beautiful man at the time, but he was not going to stay in Norway, so he was leaving. And you know, I I was devastated, because I was faced with a situation that I could not see myself in at the time. I was studying. I knew I had to have two jobs with all the expenses that I had. I had a lot of self doubt at the time. I didn't believe in myself enough and the circumstances enough to go through with it. And I didn't want that child to be without the dad. I had always dreamt about having a family on my own, with not only one child, but various or two or three children. So this was not my dream or not my plan, and I've taken all the done the things that I could have done. But when it comes back to if happiness is a choice, or we can say that positivity is, and why it's important to know the difference of the two. This was something that came to me as well, because in this process and after the process, I mean, I woke up, I remember, at the hospital. I was lying there on the bed on a line, with different women that have gone through the same thing. And it was really weird feeling. It was, and like an out of the body experience. I was not there. My heart was not there. My mind, my body was not there at all. And I remember I came to my senses, and I said to the nurse there, how long do I have to stay here? And they say you can leave in 15 minutes if you want to, if you feel well. And I said, well, I thought to myself, I don't feel well, but the decision was made. It was done. And I knew I just had to go back out there, and I wanted to leave the room. I wanted to leave, the smell, the feeling, everything around it, all the blank sheets, and it was like leaving the room and and closing a door to a chapter that I didn't want to know of. I didn't want anyone to know about it. And the last thing I wanted was to have it in my life at all. And I was deleting it completely. And about it,
You fought
I
because now
fought,
it's back.
I struggled, and I had to confront myself. I had to confront the system. I had to confront that I was the only child, because I always had dreamt about having a big brother for some reason, probably for protection, and I grew up alone, and everyone was always asking me, how is it to be the only child without a brother and a sister? And I always said, I'm not gonna foster a family and only have one child for that child to experience that same thing. And but what I realized, because this brought me naturally into a grave um, at the time. And what I realized years later is that that grief was not only about the loss of that child itself. It was also a reflection, losing my own inner child, that voice that I never had. And I had to take that decision on my own. But I actually went back to my family for the first time in my life. I begged for help. I said, if you can just help me financially 2 or 3 months from now, so I just get to the clarity, and you can do research on how to be on both feet and make this happen, and I opened up my heart and I said, I want this. But because that was a part of the story, I wanted it first. I said, well, I'm going to do it. um, but then they said no. They said no. And again, I felt lonely. I felt like that only child that had to be on my own, going through everything on my own, and I was devastated. And I actually made that interpretation at the time that my family turned their backs on me. So I went back. I lived in Oslo at the time, not in my hometown where I live now. And I yeah, I took that choice. I have to
But
go
but
to the
but but
hospital.
but okay, so this is happening long ago. It was a different time. It was a
Yeah, it was a
different
different time.
type of society. It was a different attitude towards people's choices, and you lived in that triangle of guilt, stigma, and shame, simply because you were afraid of how other people react.
Yeah, I was scared to death I didn't know
So
how
so
to
so
deal with it.
so so how, I mean, it's very painful to talk about this, but I think sometimes soon you'll feel very light, because here you are in a totally different place. It's almost like a different planet.
It is.
Your life changed in a way that you never envisaged, and your whole emotional being grew into the person who can
Hmm.
understand what happened.
Yeah. And I don't remember who I shared it with now, because it's some in some way, the experience at the hospital is really clear, but other parts of the whole experience is blurry. But I remember one thing though, and that was that some acquaintance or uh, a friend said to me, happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy and not stay in this grief, and at the time, I did not have to respond. I was, like I said, crushed. I was angry. I was scared. I was frustrated. I was confused. It was a roller coaster emotionally, and it was directly thought provoking to me to say that happiness is a choice right now. Say, hey, I punch that person's face, because I say, I'm in grief and I didn't want this for the first place. I felt like I've done everything right to not become pregnant, to have those and all these planned, and then it happens, and I have to take responsibility for the situation. And even if I don't want to, I feel like I have to because of the outer circumstances, which is a long time ago, yes. But it led me into um, discoveries on how we think and how we feel and what the difference is. And because sometimes even if you see quotes like happiness is a choice, and that the intention behind it is that they want to I feel like the intention behind it is not really the thinking, but the way you should feel. But the thing is, there's a difference here. And a feeling isn't something you can control. Thinking is. And the literal definition of to feel is to experience an emotion. And to think is defined as to direct one's mind toward someone or something. And experiencing an emotion just happens. I mean, you feel sad when something saddens you, which this experience obviously did to me. It was hard to go through it, and I was on my own. And you feel happy when something or someone makes you happy, and you can.
But do you think that somebody can make you happy? It is an outside source for happiness?
No. I mean, that's why I had to come back to my own inner source, and find that happiness in me. I had to leave that self doubt and that self, negative talk, and go back to just know, that, yeah, I can be, I can, I can, I can create in a way that happiness in me by thinking positively. Because I think that, happiness is an emotion, and emotions are fleeting. Some last longer than others, and and on the other side, I think positive thinking is an active choice. The decision to focus on the possibility of good results, or to seek out the goodness in any situation or person. And in this situation, I came, to a point, after several years that it was not something I was in. It was something you go in and out of, and that happened again now this time when I was working with the content for tonight, is that the grief actually came back, but I was able to change that emotional state now and create for myself um, the happiness of seeing, or I don't know if you can call it happiness, but I actually seeing the strengths that I had at the time and how strong I was in those
So
moments.
you just said it. Just let's pause for a moment. So now you are looking back and you see all is good,
Hmm.
but what makes you see that everything is good is the fact that you can see the good in every single situation you are in. So that situation you are in at the time, so long ago,
Mm-hmm.
is basically helping you to understand that you you have to remember celebrating life.
Exactly. It's so important.
So to me, everything comes down to three things. One, you can't chase happiness. I know each one of us is on a roller coaster chasing happiness,
Mm-hmm.
but the truth is that happiness is only coming from inside out. It
Mm-hmm.
cannot come, it's not a two-way street. So
No.
could only come from inside out. But for you to have that um, freedom to celebrate who you are and how you feel inside, you have to first see the good in everything,
Yeah.
even in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
And thirdly, I would say that life as we know it is too short for anything else than happiness. I had a friend, and this is 20, almost 30 years ago. She invited me to her birthday, and she was 83,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the only guest. So I asked her, so what happened with the others? Where is everybody? And she said, oh, they're well gone. And I asked her, what do you see when you look at your life? When you look at your 83 years of life, how long do you think it is? I mean, what it is? And she said, 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So if a woman who was 83 was saying that 83 years is just 3 seconds, how much I got left?
Exactly.
Everybody she ever loved, everybody she's been um, spending quality or bad time with, being crazy, being stupid, being silly, being weird, being whatever she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So you see those three things when you talk about going from a set of circumstances where you felt trapped, where you felt alone, where you almost destroy your own life,
Mm-hmm.
feeling that you should be ashamed, you should be guilty, and is a stigma on you, or
Mm-hmm.
could be, you could simply understand that it's how you look at things. What your expectations from you are when you are in a set of circumstances, you are thinking, oh, how is this? What is this for me? How is this matching my own values, beliefs, actions? But when you align your actions and beliefs and values, unless you align them with your emotions, you can't make any progress.
No. No, and I was, at the time, I think a part of it was that I felt like I said, a big failure because when you're told that
Okay, so
happiness,
then you feel like a failure. How do
no,
you feel now?
no, I don't feel like a failure at all. It was just,
You know
um,
failure doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist, and not in our world, Marina. So that's one thing, but not today. Um, I knew why I took that choice, and I also know now that I see how I took, responsibility for my emotions. And that's why I opened up today and I wanted to share it because I see that the negativity that I was in at the time didn't help me progress at all. It didn't help anyone, and and not at least myself. So I had to go through a process where I had to learn and I had to practice how to do this. And I had to also learn to feel gratitude in every situation. And it also prepared me. I had a new situation when I was engaged 10 well, it's more than 10 years ago now, but I was engaged and I was pregnant again, and I had also natural abortion, and I had a new a new experience where I was in a way in grief again, and I just dealt with it a different way because of the experience that I already had. And I believe that the timing, I mean, when it's right, and the timing's right, it will happen. But at the time, it was sad because I was scared to feel or to even expect or to feel happy about the pregnancy that I got into a year later. And but when my son was born, after that, I couldn't be more happy, and I think that life prepared me for something even bigger than myself, and today, like I said, if this can uh, help somebody carrying grief, carrying bad emotions around themselves about being in a situation like this where you actually take a choice. I mean, it's just know that it's meant to, for some reason. It's not easy to see it at the time. It took me years, even like I said, when the grief came back to me only a few days ago, I was able to silently observe it and think, this thought, what is it, what kind of life is it creating for me right here and now? How can I make this motion um, um, lead me into a stronger person, a better version of myself, even today, 15 years ago. So I think, um, if I can call it, the artist to actually to sort out and to see the strengths that you had in the situation and actually take them with you today. The rest is not worth to bring along, but what is actually good resources that you have taken out of a situation. And when it comes to emotions, I mean, there might be emotions and bad emotions involved that obviously tell you, that there is a need in you that is not filled. To me, that picture is kind of complex, and there was different things that triggered each other. And at the time, I just went into black, but and then someone telling me that happiness is a choice. I didn't know what to believe. Like I said, it really provoked me. But today, after all the practice and experience and other experiences that I've had as well, I know that um, this resistance that I met 15 years ago has helped me tremendously, and also made me to who I am today, and also made me able to be here and bring this out as a true message from my inner source, my inner voice. I found back to that inner child that has that strength to say, well, that was the decision I made because I had to do it at the time, and I'm proud of it today. I can stand in that decision and say that that was right for me at the time. And if we talk about gratitude, and being grateful for this resistance that I've had in my life, to be able to meet people with tolerance and with no judgment today, which make me even more grateful. And to be able to be with my son, and my son said something really important. I don't exactly remember the conversation that we had, but um, I, for some reason, said something negative about myself. And it was more about the daily things that you do. I think I said something about I should do this better next time. And then he looked at me, said, "Mom, when you talk negatively about yourself, you don't become a better mom." And I looked at him, I smiled, and I said, "I love you so much because you're so intelligent and you have such a good heart." And he laughed at it and said, "I need to practice again, because sometimes you tend to get into that negative self-talk, and it doesn't make you happier either." And that's why I'm also, writing this book, Soulful Stories, to my son. Like I said, children are so competent, and if they also become aware early and how they can, I mean, they have it within them already, as my son proved to me, and he has proved it several times. But um, it's so important that we become aware of all these emotions and what they can do for us and how they can make us stronger and even lead us to the decisions that we have to take at that given moments for us to go on and to move on in life and to become the ones that we are supposed to be, right, or born to be. And today, if I can say, I'm so much stronger when it comes to let that. I mean, even if it's stormy, I can still feel that calmness inside. I can still carry or bring out happiness and a smile in any given moment together with my child. Today we've been out in the rain, throwing a ball. Even it was raining, everyone was running inside, and we were out there laughing and choosing that moment of happiness in the rain. Even if, I mean, we can have we could have started talk negatively about the weather, but I mean, even if it's the daily things or traumas, it all comes back to the same. But it's also about taking any positive angle out of a situation, if it's good or bad, and bring it with you to 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 be strong in that state, right? So.
Wow. I have this, I had a client of mine and she wrote me what she thinks is happiness. She wrote a recipe for me.
You did? Okay.
And she said, a recipe for happiness. You should try it one day. And ingredients: one
Keep in mind.
large smile. You have
Yeah.
plenty, she said. 2 cups of sweetness. You have plenty. A large helping of positivity. You have too much. A good
Mhm.
sense of humor. You have some. 1 cup of self-esteem. You have to fill it up. 2 spoonfuls of true faith. Oh, you do have it. 1 spoonful of goodwill. 2 pinches of easygoing, and a heart full of love. That's you, Marina.
Oh, that was beautiful.
So I'm passing that on to you.
Oh my
And
God. You're making me emotional right now. That
and
was very
I
sweet.
think
Thank you.
I think talking about happiness is is showing that you want what you want, and you know what you want, and that's very rare. Most people shied away from big words like happiness. They'll never talk about happiness. They'll always cringe when you mention that word, and they'll always think um, there is no happiness.
Hmm.
But people who really realize how short life is could really make happiness a way of life,
Hmm.
and there's nobody to stop them. And
Yeah.
to me,
Hmm.
happiness, same way as fear, is very strange that I'm making this analogy, but happiness, the same way as fear, is like if fear is a poisonous gas, happiness is a perfume.
Hmm.
Once comes into your system, nothing can take it out. So it's as if each time you smile, you give somebody a drop of yourself.
Hmm.
And the truth is, it doesn't hurt anyone, and is not a resource that could ever end.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to focus on how to love yourself unconditionally in every aspect of life. And that's why I said to you before, or I wrote to you before we start the show. I mean, if we understand importance of taking full responsibility for all our emotions and embrace them in any given moment in life. Because if you want that change, we have to be that change, where self-love, unconditional love, and non-judgment exist. And that also includes you and me and the rest of this tribe, beautiful tribe on this earth, that we actually are the human beings. We are born to be with all our flaws, or like I said, perfect imperfections, and that we learn how to love ourselves. I mean, either way, whatever happens in our lives, and to feel grateful that we're here and that we can always. I mean, just waking up in the morning. I've actually spent the night in a tent with my son in his room because the weather was bad. I said, okay, we can go camping inside, and we woke up today and we put this air conditioning on his little thing standing on the floor, so we had some air in there because it gets really and just waking up and having that as a beautiful experience as well, even if we were in our house and our home, but to just know, and then to know that I was going on this show today, and like I said, in a way, I had all these feelings coming back, the shaking, the nervous feelings, the fear, the confusion. But the difference this time was that I could say, Therese, these are emotional states that belongs to the past, to that given moment. This has nothing to do with you today, the show today, the moments that you have today. I mean, these are moments that you've had that was there to learn you something, and for you to take with you today, to teach or to share, and hopefully help somebody out there or serve somebody to find that inner strength, that inner voice, to just be where you are, stand in your decisions and be strong, because we're so powerful, and that's who we are. And we are love, Marina. You're a love, I am love, and so is the rest of you guys. You're all so beautiful. So thank you for tonight.
From both of us, goodbye.